Waiting for the official go ahead, and there we go. We're live. Hey folks, it's Carrie. I thought a little bit about the topic for this week, and the thing that I came up with was Plan B. Now, best of plans often go awry, and I've got a couple examples of how that comes into effect. This last week, I did 3 big mountain expeditions, and one of them we were going to try an alternate way to get to a peak called Sky Pilot that we weren't 100% sure on how to get there or how long it would take exactly. I also had a run planned for the next day that was quite long, so I didn't want it to go too long. But after we got out, it became very clear that if we were going to actually get to the top of Sky Pilot, we would have to either choose to do something else or radically change the way we were thinking about things. And that's where the Plan B came into effect. Plan A was go along this route, get to the top of Sky Pilot, and descend this route, which had some parts of it that were very, very steep, exposed. They call it class 3 scrambling, almost class 4, but pretty much class 3 scrambling, which means that as you're climbing up this mountain, it becomes really, really dangerous to make a misstep. It's very exposed. So what we ended up doing was changing the plan altogether. Instead of going up and then back down to where we had originated, we decided to keep going and end up in a completely different place, and then ended up getting a taxi back to our car at about 1 o'clock in the morning, something like that. So Plan B, what I want to address specifically is how we make changes and respond in an agile manner so that you can still have a fantastic experience. You can get the job done. You can complete the task at hand. You can make changes or adjustments so that you can still feel good about what you've done, even though Plan A might have gone out the window. So I'd love to hear examples from anybody who watches this as well about times when you went out to do something and things shifted in a significant way, what you did, how you still managed to create a win for that kind of thing. So there's some of the folks who like watching my content do racing. So running, triathlon, mountain stuff, trail races, ultras. And pretty much the entire calendar has been wiped clean since March. And these are things that people plan a long time in advance to try and get into the best possible shape, to peak at the right time, to do the mileage, do the things they're supposed to do, to get to that point where they can complete this event easily. And then everything gets wiped off the calendar. Maybe not all at once. Some of them drop off little bit by little bit. I made a couple changes to how I was training for 2 reasons. One is my lifestyle when I am working full on in a non-COVID environment is one where I travel an awful lot. And I have not been on a plane now for, let's see, March, April, May, June, July, almost 5 months, which is crazy because I'm usually flying maybe 100, 150 times a year to different places and going to different countries, different states, different cities, and doing things in those environments. So training is a little bit disjointed. So my Plan B for training here is I've been out every single day since the beginning of April, May, June, and now July. Over 100 days plus right now where I'm out every day putting miles in. And I'm putting miles in up and down through mountains, running around the park, doing sort of road running, doing walking and that sort of thing. And I'm probably, frankly, in the best shape that I've been in. Oh, yeah. I've got this little scrape. That's from another adventure that we went on. Had a brief mishap on a very sketchy downhill road, mountain biking at night, but not bad. I took the brunt of it on my shoulder here. Here's the shirt that I was wearing. So this, that's why I've got this right now. Probably turned dark, and it's just very surfacey, not a big deal. Didn't slow us down. Have some little minor cuts on my palm there as well. I think you can see. And that was pretty much it. The bike was part of our Plan B adventure. Actually, we had left a bike stashed somewhere that we were going to use to come back. And when we came back, we were going to an entirely different place and took a taxi. So we left our bikes. We had to go back and get them at another time. So that's how I did this. Just a little mountain bike snafu, not a terrible one. Didn't slow us down. So changing the way you approach training, meaning I had races in mind that I was going to do, then they went away. I shifted to the Great Virtual Race Across Tennessee, which corresponded to May, June, July, and August. And it was something where if you cover 635 miles, which is the distance from one end of Tennessee to the other, you complete, and you track your own mileage or how many kilometers that you do. And the interesting thing about this race is 20,000 people showed up for it. And right now we are about a month, 30 days out from the completion of this run. And I knew I was going to go more than 635 miles. In fact, I sort of thought, well, I'll do double that. I'll go across and back, which worked out to 1,270 miles. And I'm still moving along. There's no point in stopping. So now we're kind of looking at the third crossing, which will bring us up to about 1,970 miles in 4 months, about 500 miles a month. And then there's a nice round 2,000 miles, which that's my big plan B. That's a B is for big and B is for a plan B there, because it means every day going out no matter what. And when you complete, Laz sends you one of these right here. This is the Great Virtual Race Across Tennessee belt buckle for completion, and the 1,000-mile and back across Tennessee, the BAT, the back across Tennessee race. It gives you something different. So the thing about Plan B is you always have a choice. You can either view something like a shift in your plans as a disaster, oh my God, the whole thing's ruined, or you can just adapt and move on. Same type of thing that's happening with the COVID situation. This pandemic has hit. Things are very different. How you approach things, whether you fight them and resist, which often ends up causing unease or dis-ease or disease, which is quite literally what happens. The stress, the things that you allow to get to yourself will bother you enough to create a lower quality of life than if you just said, so this is the new thing. How am I going to deal with this in a creative way and create my own plan B? So I've done that with my fitness and my racing already, by jumping into this great virtual race and going out on adventures that are, I think I calculated in the last week, I went on 3 big mountain ones, each of which was over 12 hours or 12 hours plus, somewhere between 12 and 17 hours. So I was out for 42, 43 hours. And the total mileage that I knocked off of my challenge was only 60 miles or something like that. So extremely slow pace, not efficient for that, but quality of life. It was fantastic being outside. Work-wise, there are some huge shifts, and lifestyle-wise. Now I've been in one place for a long time. My expenses have gone down, which is a blessing. But I'm also, my income has more or less dried up to some extent, because my bread and butter is FullTilt team development, working with groups of people, speaking with organizations in person, doing corporate training, doing leadership development, and also doing team building. And that has fallen by the wayside. We've got companies now calling us saying, hey, what can you do virtually? Can you put something together? And we're doing that, but that's a little bit different. That's a different plan B. So we've also come up with some other options to offer clients, which are a little bit different, which represent a different plan B. And I'm also, as my own personal plan B, working more on content, things like this Full Tilt Friday, for example, and some videos that I'm editing and some writing that I'm doing. So that's your that's your shift, if you will, in making the best of what would otherwise be a pretty terrible situation. And for some of us, it is terrible, although, again, it's a matter of how you choose to react, how you choose to react. And there's always a different way forward that you can seize onto, embrace, create, that creates a positive end result. So the more seamless the transition can be from the original plan to what you're dealing with in the moment, meaning we're going to run out of daylight. We'll never get back in time to the original point. So we're going to choose a different point at the end. The business relies on people getting together. People are not getting together so much now. How does the business sustain? Well, we change, we pivot, we're agile. We shift seamlessly from one thing to another. And then when it shifts back to a new normal or business as usual kicks in again, which who knows when that's going to be. But you have to be prepared that it's going to be a long time from now. We will again be ready to make that shift one more time. So in business, people still want connection, even though we're connecting online or connecting through Zoom calls or Microsoft Teams or something like that. People still want connection. So how do you create that real connection? So let's see, Corey, thoughts on Courtney taking on the Colorado Trail 500? That's going to be interesting because that is long enough that there's going to need to be some substantial sleeps. And the level of intensity that she brings to a run is going to have to be ratcheted back a little bit. If she's doing UTMB, she's working hard the whole time. Even the 200, I ran the Moab 200, the first one that ever happened. And she was in that race and kicked my butt badly and kicked everyone in the race's butt. The second place overall person, Sean McNamara, I think, he came in 10 hours after Courtney. And then I think I was 10 hours after that. So it'll be interesting to see how she survives. That one's a lot about durability. She's durable for sure. And she's got a fantastic attitude, but it's gonna be in a different world, a slower world where it's just grinding it out and being relentless. Do I think she can do it? Hell yes. It sounds like a great time. It'd be fun to go out there and support her. And in an ideal world, I'd send her and Kevin a note and be like, hey, you want someone to pace you for a little bit? Because that'd be fun. But coming back to Canada would mean a 2-week quarantine. I don't want to do that. Things turn out for the best for people who make the best of the way things turn out wouldn't. David, yes, that's exactly it. Things do turn out the best for those people who make the best of the way things turn out. Arguing with reality is a recipe for frustration and dis-ease. Don't do it. Make the transition seamlessly. Have a plan B in mind. Be prepared to create one in the middle of whatever's going on, just so that you can have a successful day. All right. Last couple things. I am wide open to suggestions for future Full Tilt Friday topics. I plan to do this for a while, and I'm going to keep coming up with things. Some will be personal, some will be professional, some will be related to some of the adventures we do. If you would like to support, please right now drop a thumbs up. If you are not subscribed, please subscribe. I will, in the description, include a link to my Instagram. If you're curious, I put out a lot of content that's generally positive and interesting. Have a Strava account if you wonder what I'm doing. You can see where I'm going, what the runs and different adventures that I've done. And if you want to go above and beyond, you can jump into Patreon. I've got a Patreon account. Link in there. Sign up, support this kind of stuff. Just show that you care. It's a easy donation. $1 a month, $10 a month, whatever. It's always appreciated. So thanks so much. This is Carrie signing out. Next week, this will probably be a lot darker. We'll see. We'll see what it looks like. Bye-bye.